So we've spent a long time looking at making the perfect tense with avoir, and that is how you make the tense for 99.9% of verbs. However, and there's always a however, isn't there? For these 13 verbs here, instead of using avoir, you will use être. The past participle is exactly the same. You make this past participle exactly the same. So I'll put that over here for you to remind you. And then this is the verb être. So instead of avoir, now when you've got these verbs, you're using être. So I've put aller here done for you. Now you'll see that all these 13 verbs are actually quite common verbs. I've highlighted the ones in yellow that are probably the most common, and we have seen them before when we did our writing about past holidays. They're all also verbs of movement, and they will also have opposites. So for example, aller to go, venir to come. So you know, if you're looking at a verb or you want to use a verb that possibly is about movement, you need to check whether you're using avoir or être. So only these 13 verbs will use être plus the past participle. Now there is one other thing that you need to remember when you're using être. You have to add agreements. So if it's a girl, you add e. If it's plural, you add s. So for me, whenever I'm writing about myself using any of these 13 verbs in the past tense, I will always have to add an e. So you always have to ask yourself the question, is it feminine? Minin. Is it plural? So if it's feminine, we're going to add an e. And if it's plural, we're going to add an s. So let's just do a little bit of role modelling on that. Let me rub that out. So I've done the verb to go here. So let's have a look at the verb to stay. So if I want to write the verb to stay for me, I know I'm using être, so I find that here. So je suis. My verb is rester. I make this past participle in exactly the same way. Take off the e, r, and add an e with an accent. And then I have to ask myself my two questions. Is it feminine? Well, yes, I am feminine, so I need to add an extra e. Is it plural? No, so no extra s. So let's look at another one. Let's look at we, for example. And we're going to use nous. Okay, so I go first. My first part is get the right bit of être. So I'm going to say nous sommes. My past participle remains the same. Now, is it feminine? Well, it might be if it's a group of girls, but we don't know. So we're going to assume that it's a mixed group, so we don't need to add an e. Is it plural? Yes, it is. So I add an s. Let's try one more. So let's do she. So I'm going to use she. I find my part of être here. Elle est. I get my root past participle. Is it feminine? Yes. Is it plural? No. Actually, let's just do one more so that we can have a look at both plural and feminine. So let's do they, all girls. So elles. Where's my part of être here? Elles sont. Put my root. Is it feminine? Yes. Is it plural? Yes. So I have to have both of those on. So that's how you make the past tense using the être verbs. You can now have a little go and work through the tasks on your self-directed learning.